The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
Gobble, gobble, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. I hope that you and yours had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Our best wishes to all of you from the people that make Break the Business possible. I know I had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I am still trying to, jog off the remaining pumpkin pie and turkey and everything else that I consumed. It was all fabulous, and I'm in such a great Thanksgiving mood. And that good mood continues as I think about all of the cool stuff that we have going on throughout Break the Business and the amazing show that we have for you this week. Our guest this week, joining us in the second segment, is going to be not only one of my favorite people going right now in the entertainment business, but also one of my favorite sports figures is going to be joining us. Adewale Ogunleye is going to be on the show. He is an 11-year NFL veteran, has a special place in my heart as a South Floridian and a Miami Dolphins fan, because I got to watch Adewale when I was younger just run roughshod through opposing offenses in the NFL. He was such a great defensive lineman, amazing football player, and he's equally good today as a businessman. Now that he is out of the league in retirement, he works in the sports and entertainment division at UBS, where not only does he focus a lot on helping financially empower sports figures as well as entertainers, but he's also highly interested in the world of AI. And next week at Art Basel in Miami, Adewale is going to be giving a talk with a bunch of other sports and entertainment figures about the impact of AI. And so we're going to talk to him all about that. He's going to have some great insight for us. And considering it's something that we talk a lot about on this show, it's going to fit right into what we do here at Break the Business. I'm excited to have him on the show in the second segment. We pre-recorded the interview, so I'll be wearing a different shirt in that interview, but you're really going to love the insight he has. And the good insights don't just end with Adewale Ogunleye. We got other great folks that we're talking to, including our co-host this week. We are joined by musician, investor, and frontman for Gideon King and City Blog. Gideon King is here. Hi, Gideon.
Howdy. How you been? Happy Thanksgiving.
Right back at you, sir. How was your Thanksgiving holiday? I am curious. What is Thanksgiving like in Gideon King's world? Is it like a big family affair? Do you keep things intimate? What are we doing?
I mean, you know what? Sometimes we do the traditional Thanksgiving thing. This time I came to Miami and I went fishing with my son and my wife. And we caught a shark, which I was very scared of, but my son seemed to be brave enough to handle it. And then we actually, this is super unpatriotic, but then we went out for French food. And so I don't know, I'm sounding
just like how the Pilgrims did.
Exactly. I'm sounding like some kind of like detached yuppie who doesn't celebrate, Thanksgiving with the other people. But you know what? The truth is, that's what I did. I mean, better I tell you the truth than I lie. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, especially if the truth involves sharks and baguettes on Thanksgiving.
Exactly, Sharks and Baguettes. Hey, that'd be a cool name for a band. We should start a band, Sharks and Baguettes.
Let me make a note. Yeah, we used to do a segment on Break the Business called #BandNameIdeas, where we would find just like random silly pictures of things that had like weird words and phrases. Like I once was walking through an airport and we saw this like giant truck that said "regulated garbage" on the side. And I was like, that's a great band name.
That's a metal band, Regulated Garbage. That's a metal band.
We were walking through a hospital and I took a picture of a sign on a door that said "Soiled Utility." So
that could work. That could work.
Yeah, we have a lot of these that are pretty fun.
So that's my thing.
Yeah, we might have to bring that segment back for you, Gideon King, because I feel like you'd get a kick out of our band name ideas segment from back in the day. But a couple things that I wanted to dig in with you about, Gideon, before we bring in Adewale Ogunleye, is just some of these pretty wild pieces of legal news that have been coming down the way. And even though you're not a lawyer, I kind of feel like spiritually you are. Like we would I'd give you like honorary Esquire status in the same way that like colleges give out honorary degrees, because I feel like I can talk about law with you and you're just as capable, if not more capable than most of the lawyers I know. And since these are like really cool, interesting music law cases, I know you're going to be on my level with this stuff. First, wanted to chat with you about these legal filings we've seen this past week involving Drake. So this past week, just to catch everybody up, Drake's Camp, the hip hop artist, made a couple legal filings against his label Universal Music Group and iHeart, the radio entertainment organization, alleging that these two companies have participated in the artificial boosting of the Kendrick Lamar song Not Like Us, and also alleged that Universal was complicit in defamation because their actions were supporting this Kendrick Lamar diss track that accused Drake of being, quote, a certified pedophile. Now, I think most music fans, unless you've been living under a pile of rocks, know that Drake and Kendrick Lamar were embroiled in a pretty aggressive rap battle. They've been putting out diss tracks against each other, accusing each other of some pretty heinous, crazy things. And the lesson that I think we learned from all of this is don't get into a rap battle with Kendrick Lamar. That is a bad idea. He is way too good at writing rap lyrics and just way too incisive and will get really mean. Like I would sooner get into a boxing ring with Mike Tyson in the 90s than get into a rap battle with Kendrick Lamar in 2024. But Drake walked right into it. And it seems that, I mean, this is almost like an admission of defeat in the rap battle, because Drake apparently got just hurt so bad in this rap battle that he felt inclined to bring lawsuits, or at least the threat of a lawsuit into it, by suing the record label for their involvement with the Kendrick Lamar diss track. Right. Now, we should note that these are not lawsuits, right? Drake is not suing Universal and iHeart yet, but is instead basically doing a request for information, is asking the court for permission to depose and seek discovery against these organizations to see if Universal Music Group may have illegally done artificial streaming of Not Like Us to boost its streaming numbers, or acted in some way to engage in a support of what Drake calls Lamar's defamation in the Not Like Us diss track. I've never seen anything like this. Like, I mean, you've seen your fair share of rap battles throughout music history. I've never seen any of them involve court filings. This is new to me.
Well, I mean, there is so much to talk about here, to unpack. So I'm just going to try and do bullet points. Bullet point one is, if I were the spiritual and legal advisor to these two chaps, I would say be very careful about what you're doing. I would say to Kendrick Lamar, you better be sure that the words that you're calling him are accurate. Mm-hmm. Not because the legal consequences. This will get all tied up in all kinds of legal concepts, fair comment and libel versus defamation. They'll get bogged down. And there's even some precedent. I've read some precedential cases about hyperbolic language, which is okay. There's all kinds of precedent, and they'll fight that out. But what I would say to people in bullet point one is, you're calling the man a pedophile, literally calling him a pedophile.
Yeah.
Either that's disgusting and you're wrong, or you're right and it's disgusting for Drake. Either way, someone's going to come out looking disgusting. And you're throwing words around that are deeply damaging, and somehow it's all threaded into some kind of ambient level of fear that I think the whole community feels with respect to P. Diddy. So these words have now even a more radioactive charge to them because of what's going on with P. Diddy. So I would say, one, everybody's got to be very, very careful when he's threatening a lawsuit. And like you point out, he's only saying, preserve your documents, don't throw stuff away, don't delete stuff, because I'm reserving my rights to come after you. But when Drake sues Kendrick Lamar and says, you use streaming bots and your label sanctioned defamatory lyrics, every action has an equal and opposite reaction in litigation. You think you got the other guy. When you write your pleading down and you say, I got him, then their response comes, and you can have counter lawsuits. You can have them ask for discovery on your stuff, and before you know it, what's probably going to happen is they'll all be sorry they did this if it really comes to litigation, because so much bad stuff will come up about both of them, because clearly there'll be countersuits, there'll be discovery, there'll be contention interrogatories, there'll be depositions, and before you know it, some really bad stuff could come out about both of them. So if I were their spiritual advisors and legal advisors, I would say get in a room and talk, because it's mutually assured destruction at some level, because none of you are vestal virgins. All of you may have things that you don't wish to be outed in the musical world, particularly when it comes to streaming and how streaming is out there. So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say, bullet point 2, is I don't know about you, Ryan, but I'm sort of like grossed out and getting a little bit bummed at artists, and the words they're using, and their presumption of how important they are, and everything from their behavior on the campaign trail, whether it's Kid Rock for the Trumpster, or whether it's Beyonce showing up in $20 billion dresses and getting paid, allegedly, to speak on behalf of Kamala Harris. So I'm getting kind of grossed out, and this is part and parcel of like artists grossing me out. The lyrics are gross, they're nasty, they're harsh. If they're true, it's terrible. If they're untrue, it's terrible that Kendrick Lamar is using them. So like, I don't know if your listeners and you share this sentiment, but it's like, you know what? Make something beautiful. Make something that makes us think. Don't challenge each other with the basest form of warfare. And so I'm kind of grossed out by it, to tell you the truth. But listen, if he actually sues him, there'll be some precedent that's made by this case and whatever. I personally think they're probably both to blame. And by the way, it's not just Kendrick. Okay, I mean, like Drake's gone after him in his lyrics too, as you know, just to point out. So, if I were these two guys, I'd stop right now, and I suspect it'll come to that. I suspect once they stare the danger of litigation and continuing on with this warfare in the eye, once they stare that in the eye, their business instincts will take over, and they will figure out a way to make peace in the Middle East, figuratively speaking. But in terms of what legal concepts Drake might invoke, who the hell knows? Maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. Facts and circumstances, baby. We got to see what really happened.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sold on the defamation route by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, you know, case after, I mean, not because I can't tell you what illegal things Drake may or may not have done to make that statement, the statement in the Kendrick Lamar song, true or not. What I do know is it's really, really hard to make a defamation case, not only one against a public figure, but two in a creative work like a song, right? The First Amendment protections are very, very strong there. It's a very, very high bar. I remember, this must have been like 10 or 15 years ago, there was a lawsuit by Lindsay Lohan against Pitbull, where Lindsay Lohan sued Pitbull for defamation because Pitbull had a lyric in Give Me Everything, one of his #1 songs, that said, got me locked up like Lindsay Lohan. And she sued for defamation because she said, I've never been locked up before. This is an untrue statement. Like, you have lied about me. And a court said, come on, like First Amendment, like you have to prove actual malice. Very, very high bar. We give incredible artistic license in creative works. We don't want to create a world where people are afraid to make art because they're afraid that, everything they said wasn't 100% true. And ultimately, I think the First Amendment would provide a great amount of protection in a defamation case here. And as for the accusations from against Universal on like artificial streaming, I don't think Drake wants to look under those rocks because if you look under those rocks, you might find that UMG might be doing similar stuff with Drake's songs and with every other big time artist, right? I imagine that if we wanted to find out how much bot action is being done with the major labels and Spotify, I don't think any of us are going to like what we see there.
For sure. Listen, just also to echo what you're saying a little bit. Yeah, I mean, proving defamation that someone is willfully saying things that they know are untrue, that's not an easy burden of proof. And then of course there's the damages. I mean, like people are listening to that song because they dig it, Okay, it's fun. I listen to it, the A minor part, which is held out with that long kind of delay reverb tail. It's fun. Like it's just fun stuff. There's fun, production in that tune. So like to somehow for a judge or a jury or some adjudicating body to determine how many people are listening and for what reason and why and whether he really said untruthful things. I mean, like it's impossible. But I don't really think that's what it's about. I think what Drake is saying is, I might come after you. And when I do, any number of things can be said in a defamatory claim or claim of libel. And it introduces a randomization of our future that we might not be experiencing now. Once you're in litigation, it randomizes your life. And I know I've been in litigation. It's one of the most horrific. It's painful as hell, and it's to be avoided, and nobody wins most of the time. And so what I would say is Drake is saying to him, look, dude, I'm about to randomize your life. And you may randomize mine, but we're going to be in the same boat. And maybe he thinks that'll get him to chill out a little bit. But like, listen, I mean, no judge is going to compel Universal to take the song down or streaming services or iHeartRadio. Nobody's compelling them to take that damn song. That's a 1 in 100 shot. You know it because you're a lawyer, and I know it because I'm experienced. So like we know that ain't happening. But it's really wild. But listen, I don't know. Like I go back to what I was saying before, and I won't belabor it. I'm grossed out, man. I'm just grossed out. It's like, guys, you're just saying stuff that's so disgusting about each other and using words that are so awful. It's like you might be overestimating your importance in using those words and thinking anybody cares about your defamatory claims. Probably everyone just thinks you're both jerks at a certain point. But what do I know? I'm just a guest on your show.
That is the interesting development in all this, is that UMG is the label for both of these artists.
Totally.
Right. And if I were, and so I'm surprised, and maybe this conversation has probably happened, frankly, but like, how is Drake, like one of the biggest selling UMG artists, not on the phone with like UMG's CEO right now being like, I'm one of your biggest stallions here. How can you let a song like this on the same label? And to me, that just speaks to like the value of why it can be great to be independent. You don't have, because your label that's supposed to be your label might not have the loyalty to you that you think they should. And you're always, and what's the point of being with the label if they're not going to protect you from stuff that could damage you like this?
And listen, for all we know, Not Like Us may get Drake more streams. People may listen to Not Like Us and say, well, geez, I want to go listen to what Drake has to say about him now. Meaning, who knows what the label really thinks? The label may be, sort of sitting back and saying like, this is really fun. I'm watching WFC wrestling between these two guys. And like, either way, there's no such thing as bad press. And, we'll take the lawsuit seriously and we'll respond that they're without merit, nonsense. But like at the end of the day, these two guys are putting a spotlight on each other. I think we ought to, that's cool. So who knows what they're, and look, some have speculated, Ryan, that this is Drake's way of trying to get out of his contract.
Yes.
With UMG. That could be possible. All I know is it lacks any subtlety to me. I mean, like when Leonard Skinner said to Neil Young, Southern man, we don't need you around, because Leonard Skinner was probably more of a racist band and Neil Young was more liberal. That had more teeth to me and had more poetic and artistic meaning to me. Or Carly Simon about Mick Jagger or whoever, or the You're So Vain, you probably think this song is about you. Like those are like, to me, those are almost more aggressive digs than any of this really base, gross, disgusting stuff. So again, I'm kind of grossed out. In terms of defamation, you make great points. This will just get settled and it'll be lots of sound and fury signifying nothing at the end of the day, in my view.
Right. I mean, I think that's right. And I think the whole point with all of this was just to kind of rattle cages, right? If Drake wanted to sue, he could just sue, right? And then look for some of this information in the discovery process. I think he probably got some advice similar to what you said earlier about the randomizing effect of litigation and how dangerous it can be and how it's a door you don't want to open. And so my best guess is he doesn't want to sue because of everything that comes with it, but he wants to put a legal filing out there to make the world think that this is a credible case and that he's been harmed and that he's been wronged and that he's the right person and he's in the right here, and that's good enough for him.
Yeah, and for your viewers, it's really, for your viewers who have not been involved in litigation. One of the things that happen is if I'm suing Ryan, right, and I say, Ryan, you haven't treated me well on this show, and you violated a bunch of, and I say, preserve your records, or here's discovery. There's a big fight about what Ryan has to preserve, and how far it has to go back and what's relevant. But Ryan has to be thinking to himself when I'm saying that to him, oh God, like is everything I've said to my wife or this text, like what's relevant, what's not relevant? You go to the judge and you have to fight about the keywords in searches and all that. And so like anytime someone says preserve your records, it doesn't make you feel comfortable. So you're exactly right. This is like some saber rattling. It's probably an off ramp to some kind of settlement talks eventually between the two, and so on. On the other hand, maybe we have it totally wrong, and Drake is not a pedophile, and Drake doesn't want to be referred to as a pedophile. Okay, because I know I wouldn't like to be called a pedophile, and I don't think you would either. Okay, so
Right.
if he's not a pedophile, and Kendrick Lamar is calling him one, and those are really the facts, then maybe you and I have it wrong, and he is heading towards real litigation. Like there's only so far you can push people sometimes. So we'll see. I mean, it's certainly two heavyweights in the hip hop and rap world, and I couldn't pretend to know which way it will go. I just know that any good advisor will advise his client avoid litigation and settle out if you can, even if you have to take some pain. But those are my thoughts.
No question. And so this isn't even the only kind of wild pre-litigation story in the entertainment industry this week. So I wanted to get your perspective on this other story, both, as the political animal that I know you are, as well as the guitar aficionado that I know you are. Recently, Gibson sent a cease and desist letter against a company called 16 Creative that has created a line of Donald Trump branded guitars that look a little similar to a rather iconic guitar design. Gibson has issued a cease and desist against 16 Creative, as confirmed by Billboard, that alleges that the Donald Trump guitars created by 16 infringe on the iconic Gibson Les Paul body shape, and alleging that there's trademark infringement there. And, as I will say a couple just preliminary observations here. I mean, I'm not an expert on guitars by any stretch of the imagination, but like I can look at that guitar on the 16 Creative website and go, yeah, that kind of looks like a Les Paul. I see it there. And it is worth noting that if you look it up in the USPTO database, Gibson does indeed have a registered trademark for the body shape as a two-dimensional shape of their Les Paul design. Now, we can talk about some of the cases that have happened previously that talk about how strong of trademark protection they have. But first, I want to get one, your thoughts on what you've read so far in that letter, and two, as somebody who's a bigger guitar expert than I, how similar are these shapes? Do you think that do you think that the Donald Trump guitar is similar enough to the Les Paul guitar?
So, it's kind of like, I'm sure someone, I'm being glib here, but I'm sure someone like somewhere has a patent, issued on, a bacon, egg, and cheese. Okay. But there's, but there's tons of bacon, egg, and cheeses all over the place at McDonald's and fancy breakfast places in middle of the road. So let me say this first. A Les Paul is a very heavy guitar. It's a mahogany neck. Okay. It's usually a mahogany, back and sides, and then sometimes has a maple top. It has two pickups, meaning one near the bridge and one near the neck of the guitar. There are trillions of copies. Slash plays a copy. The guy from ZZ Top plays a copy. Some of these copies are legally copied, meaning Epiphone's Les Paul is legally copied. There's a group called, oh man, of course, once I'm on the show is when I go into my my old age stage. Oh yeah, right. There's a group called Heritage, okay, and they make guitars that are, and then there are thousands of luthiers and guitar makers in Tokyo and private guys in North Carolina and Miami making all kinds of things that look exactly like a Les Paul. I have a beautiful guitar that looks exactly like a Les Paul. It's the same shape and so on. So I wouldn't take too seriously the idea that they're suing, Trump over this. I mean, like, obviously they're going to sue people who they feel have deep pockets. Trump at least according to himself, has deep pockets. Who the hell knows what's true? But so they're coming out with a cease and desist because maybe they get a few bucks or whatever. They don't actually care. Keep in mind also, the Trump guitars are fairly reasonably priced. There are Gibson Les Pauls that are signed that are $50,000 that are signed by famous artists and so on. It's the complete, for your viewers and for you, it is the Wild West, the shape of a Gibson Les Paul. Everybody does it. Everybody copies it. Yeah, sure. It looks, but to answer your question, yeah, hell yeah. It looks exactly like a Gibson Les Paul. It's got a couple pickups. It has the same body shape. And then there's the acoustic one that I guess Trump is offering, if he even sells these things. And by the way, whether the cease and desist order actually has any real teeth depends upon all kinds of stuff. You know, people are talking about this thing called the emoluments clause in the Constitution. You know, you're familiar with that. And they're saying how it could Trump could be violating that. That's only if Trump actually takes the money himself. Who the hell knows where the money will go? So, like, I think it's like lots of fun, the whole thing. It is kind of really cheesy that Trump's doing this. I'm just like, you know, but it's Donald. So what are we going to be surprised? But
he's never put his name on merchandise before.
No.
That's crazy.
God, except for all the buildings that I live around in New York City. Besides that, so but listen, it's the Wild West. I wouldn't take Gibson's claim too seriously. And even if it is to be taken seriously, who cares? Trump can just not make the guitars, or he can cease and desist, or whatever. But yes. If you want me to literally answer your question, you're damn right. It looks like a Gibson Les Paul, like the other 50,000 copies of Les Paul look like Les Pauls, if you get my drift.
I do. And, you know, to the benefit of 16 Creative, I should note that I'm aware of at least one major case in which Gibson tried to actually take a guitar company to court for having a guitar that was similar to their design. It was in like 2004, 2005, and involved the company Paul Reed Smith.
Yeah,
that had their own line of guitars that looked similar to the Gibson Les Paul. And that case didn't end well for Gibson. The Sixth Circuit in that case held that even though the two designs of the guitars were similar, that there wasn't enough meat on the bone to show that there was likelihood of consumer confusion, right? Guitar owners are generally sophisticated people. If you see a guitar at the end of an aisle and it has the Les Paul design, you're not just going to immediately think, oh, that's a Gibson Les Paul. You're going to walk up to that guitar. You're going to pick it up. You're going to hold it. You're going to see a different brand name on the headstock and go, okay, this isn't a Gibson.
You know what? I hate to agree with you so much. I like it better when we disagree a lot, but I'm going to agree with you again. It's even deeper. That you're so right, because you can have a guitar look the exact same as another guitar, but it can sound completely different. If the tone woods are different, if you're using different humbuckers, even the way you put a whammy bar on it, even the way the dials work, like the headstock. If the headstock is slightly different, the resonance is different. So like the thickness of the back, two guitars can look exactly the same. But what is a guitar? It's a device that makes sound. So the elemental essence of it is what it sounds like. So to the extent, Ryan, that I copy the Ryan Kairalla, semi-hollow body guitar, and you say, no, Gideon, you're infringing on my this is an intellectual property violation. I say, is it, man? Why don't you come over and play my guitar? Because that one humbucker is different and it changes everything. The location of the pickup on the bridge changes everything. I'm using a different wood for the bridge. It changes everything. And I can say, you can say it's alike, but any real guitar enthusiast up on the witness stand is going to say, go to hell. These are two totally different guitars. I don't care what the hell they look like, which is exactly to your point on the Gibson Paul Reed Smith contretemps, right? So if you really know a lot about guitars, you'll know that unless they're the exact same thing, which these are not, they're not the exact same thing. If you see where I'm going with that. Sure.
But man, any response that has the word humbucker and contretemps
yeah, right.
in it, it's like that. Woo, I love good humbucker talk.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, I'm with you here. I don't think this end, much like how I don't think the Kendrick Lamar Drake situation is going to end in litigation or even start in litigation. I don't anticipate litigation here either. I think Gibson's legal department probably doesn't want to engage in a lawsuit involving the president-elect, even though the president-elect wouldn't be a party to the lawsuit directly because he just licensed his name to this other company. And I don't think this precedent is particularly favorable to Gibson. But what I do think about this case that I think is kind of fun and interesting and instructive is I think a lot of people, when they think of trademarks, they think, oh, a trademark is a name like McDonald's or a logo like the McDonald's Golden Arches, right? That's what we tend to think of when we think of trademarks. And I think a lot of people can be surprised to find out that way more things than just names and logos can be trademarks. Anything that is indicative of the source of a product, including a sound or a color or even the shape of a product, right? Or the packaging that the product comes in, can serve as a trademark. And indeed, Gibson does have a registered trademark in the shape of their guitars. And, and so even for, if not for anything else, I think it's an interesting lesson in how so many more things than we think can be trademarks.
You know, it's funny. When I was younger and I was doing deals, I thought I was a real smarty pants, and I would ask questions and I would say, well, what does the intellectual property look like? And, show me the patents, and I'd have a patent expert. We'd say, how safe are we? And now that I'm older with a little bit more experience, I barely even ask the question anymore because it's so hard to defend what you have fully. And you have to try sometimes if you really feel it's an egregious theft. And sometimes you can be successful. Okay. But it's just what you're saying, man. Like there's like a, well, here we go again with a fancy word. There's like a concatenation of things.
Oh my God.
I did it, man. I did it. You started. I did it. And it's like a range of things that lead to a patent or a trademark. And it's hard to defend. So I agree with you, man. Now I know you're going to make fun of me because of the two words today, but that's okay. This wouldn't be a show. This wouldn't be a successful show unless you made fun of me, which is okay.
The vocabulary, this episode's getting like a 1550 on its SAT. Concatenation.
I wanted to do it.
Goodness.
Man, I wanted you to make fun of me, man. We didn't have enough, I was looking for it.
Man. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think part of what is, and to your point, what I think is driving Gibson here is an unfortunate reality for a lot of trademark holders, which is you have to police your trademark. If anything even looks like it could potentially be a violation, you're better off at least sending a cease and desist, because if you're Gibson and you don't aggressively enforce this Les Paul design, eventually over time that Les Paul design could become generic, and you lose any of your trademark rights in it. So even if you're not going to sue 16 Creative here, you at least want to make it look like you're mad at them so that there's evidence that you're policing your trademark so it doesn't go away.
Totally, man. You have to send a message. And then there's me getting back. Then I'm getting back to my grossed out thing again. Okay. I'm grossed out again. Like, it's like the president, like doing a guitar and putting his name on the guitar. And it's like, I don't know, how gross is society going to get, right? We've got Kendrick and calling, Drake a pedophile. And now we have the president doing a double eagle guitar and sounding. One is $2,500. I guess the other's 11,000. I think, I don't know. I can't be sure. I thought,
did you call these guitars affordable earlier?
Well, relative to other signature type of and branded guitars like that, they actually are.
Fair enough.
So it's kind of also just like beyond all the legal stuff, man. It's like, do we really need the president of the United States branding guitars right now? I mean, geez, Louise, I don't know. Painful, man. It's painful for me to see all this. This is not a Republican or Democrat thing, okay? If Kamala Harris were doing it or Joe Biden were doing Joe Biden guitars, okay? I'd be like, dude, enough. And that's how I feel about this. That's the mood I'm in today on your show, man. I'm a little grossed out by stuff. I got to be honest.
I could get behind a Joe Biden guitar. Bite your tongue. I mean, just like a little vanilla ice cream cone where the headstock would be. I think we got something here, like big aviator sunglasses on the body.
Maybe also constantly out of tune. I think that might be appropriate as well. Just out of touch, type thing. But who the hell knows?
You strum it, and then just out of the speaker just goes, "Listen, man."
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Not a joke. It says not a joke. Anyway, yeah, it's crazy, all this legal stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's cleanse our palate with a little bit of football. All right. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be joined by Adewale Ogunleye here, and it's going to be an absolute blast. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan Kairalla, PA. Ryan Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Our guest this week is the Managing Director of Sports and Entertainment at UBS, where he specializes in helping financial advisors understand and address the needs of athletes and entertainers. He previously played 11 seasons as an all-pro defensive end in the NFL for the Dolphins, Bears, and Texans. Our guest focuses a lot of his work today on how creative and sports professionals can protect their artistry and wealth amid the rise of AI, and he'll be leading a panel discussion on the topic at Art Basel in Miami next month. You can follow our guest on Instagram at Wale Agunlie. We are happy to welcome Adewale Agunlie on to Break the Business. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I am doing so well. As the 39-year-old lawyer today is so excited to be talking with such an important figure in entertainment and in law and in finance. I know you're going to have a lot of great insights for us, but that 39-year-old lawyer was once a football fan in his 20s and is still a big Miami Dolphins fan and remembers watching you dominate the NFL, particularly that season where you just sacked everybody while you were in a Dolphins uniform. And you give me a lot of happy memories. So seeing you here makes me happy as both a professional as well as a football fan. It's a real pleasure to be chatting with you.
Oh man, pleasure too. And my daughter's birthday is tomorrow, Dura, and for her part of her birthday gift, I took her to her first NFL game. It was a Dolphin game this past Sunday. The Dolphins played extremely well. Exactly. I was honorary captain too. I got to go to do the towing car, so my daughter got to see that. So it was all fun. I try to be neutral in the teams that she's going to like, but it seems now she's going to be a Dolphin fan for life because of that experience. So again, great time, and I enjoyed my time down in Miami.
You picked a good game to bring her to. The Dolphins played really well. And you know what? I'm willing to completely attribute that to you being there as a good luck charm. Those teams were pretty good when you played for them. And so it does not surprise me that some of that rubbed off on Tua and the gang this weekend. Well, thank you for being there, and thank you for helping them bring a win. That's terrific. I'm curious about something because I had the pleasure of actually getting to see you for the first time, not in a football uniform, a few months back at a continuing legal education conference at the University of Miami, where you led a panel discussion with a bunch of lawyers and other professionals talking about AI and protecting artists and athletes' wealth. And I was pretty blown away to see you in that role and to see how comfortable you were with it and just the cool stuff that you're doing. And it just made me curious. Did you have any experiences in your playing career that kind of made you want to get into this field post NFL?
You know, what's so funny even about sitting in that room with a bunch of lawyers, that was always my dream when I was growing up. If you know anything about a Nigerian household, you either had to be a doctor or a lawyer. And I thought eventually I was going to be a lawyer. And that's kind of how I, decided I was going to go to Indiana University to get my MBA I get my bachelor's degree. And I was a minor in criminal justice. But one thing led to another. I was an amazing football player, and I wound up playing in the NFL for 11 years. So I didn't get to, go on to law school. I didn't need to do that. But I think just my path of wanting to give back to help, like I said earlier, my parents were immigrants from Nigeria, and I just always saw them wanting to do best for their family members and want to send money back to Nigeria for them. And I think that just always, was a big part of me and my heart. And when I got done playing football and after I got my MBA, I just realized that the financial institutions could do a better job of having financial advice for athletes and entertainers. I just felt like it was too transactional at the time when I left the NFL. I just felt like financial advisors just wanted to know how much money you had, how much money they could make off of you, and then the unsavory characters that were lurking in the shadows wanted to steal from you and put you in these deals where they get a ton of money off of referral fees and really don't care really about the investment. So for us and me teaming up with UBS, it just felt like home. It felt like the right thing for me to do, where I'm giving back to an industry that I think gives so much to me, but then also an industry that gives so much to us as Americans. We love our entertainment. And I just want to make sure that when it's all said and done for all of our clients, that they have their own legacy outside of that 15 minutes of fame that we had.
I'm kind of blown away by the idea that when you were growing up, your dream was apparently to be Ryan Kairalla. When Ryan Kairalla was growing up, his dream was to be Adewale Ogunleye. So pretty wild there. When you talk about athletes needing financial advice and financial counseling and services and things like that, we're all reminded of sort of the cliche of the professional athlete who makes a lot of money but often winds up broke by the end of their playing career because they don't get the resources they need to teach them how to manage that wealth and make it last a lifetime. Do you find that the NFL more recently has gotten better with that they're taking bigger measures to make sure that football players are getting the counseling and education they need?
I would say it's probably better than when I started. I still would love for the leagues, and not just the NFL, but all of the leagues to do a better job of getting the resources, having the conversations with these young men as they're coming into their leagues, and women, that for some of you, and I think this is where the biggest problem that we're having within the sports world is that there's not a real reckoning or discussion of this really is not going to last forever. Everyone's not going to be Tom Brady. Everyone's not going to be a Tyreek Hill and sign, $100 million, $200 million contracts. Some are just going to sign, simple contracts. They're going to make a good amount of money, but probably not enough for you to just sit at home and not work again. So I think the conversations that need to be had should stem around athletes making sure that after your career, what's next? And it shouldn't just be sitting at home. It should be finding that next passion, whether it's like myself, working at UBS and doing good for other people, or finding a passion that you really appreciate, that you want to get up in the morning and work hard. It's going to help for a lot of athletes, not just with their finances, but with their mental health, with their social anxiety that a lot of these athletes have when they leave sports and entertainment. And it's going to help with their self-esteem. And I think all that being said, I take that approach here at UBS is making sure that we look at the big picture. Yes, we manage your money extremely well, but with me in my role, which I think is a difference maker from our competitors, is that we actually understand where you're coming from and understand why you do the things that you do, what makes you tick. And I think that at the end of the day is the bigger picture, getting to know our clients. And that helps us when we're trying to plan where they want to spend their money and how they want to build their legacy.
I know you and I had spoken about this before, but I'm still in awe of the fact that when I think about your biography, right? Former Miami Dolphin, defensive lineman, in retirement, goes on to become a financial advisor to other elite level athletes and entertainers. That seems almost exactly like Spencer Strasmore's character in the HBO show Ballers. Like they almost just ripped off your life. I mean, I'm hoping you're getting some royalty checks or something.
Yeah,
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson owes you.
Yeah, actually, might be the other way around, because as I was, working on this and thinking about what my next path, Ballers was coming up, and I was like, oh man, this is good because it's a good show. Don't get me wrong. But there's, so many, exaggerated stereotypes that were in there that I was like, I don't want to be put in that box. But it is almost a mirror image, right? I'm here in Miami.
Yeah.
Rock was here in Miami. But this is the first time that I've actually really discussed this in an interview, because I've always tried to stay away from it. But I do think that, what is it? Life imitates art, or art imitates life, whatever that is. And for sure, that show kind of, imitates some of the stuff that I'm going through, and some of the things that I really want to accomplish within the financial space.
All right. So what got you interested in AI? Because I've spoken with a lot of people in the entertainment industry who are obviously working a lot in the finance space and are helping financially counsel athletes and entertainers. And I'm certainly having no trouble finding people in the industry who want to talk and learn more about AI and its impact. I don't see a lot of people who are doing both, though. And, so what got you as a financial expert to want to embrace AI and to want to make talking about AI part of what you do in your work at UBS?
Yeah, I think you touched on a key component that I think we're talking communication. I think the financial industry has done a poor job of communicating with individuals in a language that they speak. And part of my role at UBS is creating intellectual capital, white papers where we can have these conversations. So when COVID was around, we wanted to talk about that next stage. What do you do when the checks start to dry up a bit, and now it's time for your next career? For handling family and friends, I have a white paper that's on family ties, right? How you teach your family to maybe say no to the request for money, or maybe not yet. And with AI, again, it's a buzz term, but it's actually something that I think is going to affect the entertainment industry extremely well. Because we don't want to look at it from a negative standpoint. We want to look at it, how do our creatives, our musicians, our artists, our actors, producers use AI to their advantage? And there's a ton of individuals who want to be purists, who want to create. But the thing that I've realized when it comes to AI, especially from our clients' perspective, is, listen, the horse is out of the barn. AI is here to stay, and our lives are going to be changed regardless of what our opinions are. It's for us now to understand the technology that's coming, understand how it can help us be more creative in what we're doing, and then also how it helps us generate more revenue for our clients and put them in positions where they're not scared or worried about the next 5-10 years, but also prepared as this technology, this revolution that's coming from AI. I saw a clip on IG with Timbaland, and I think he's been working on a song for, I don't know, maybe years, it said. And he added his song because he was missing a small piece of the song, and he added the song to the software, and AI made the song in his mind complete. And it was It was a hit for him. So that's how we're trying to make sure our clients realize, use AI as a tool. Don't be afraid of what's coming next, and making sure they don't get left behind as technology continues to push us forward.
Well, that Timbaland case is pretty interesting. Do you have any other examples of some use cases that you've encountered in your work, or that you've perhaps read about, of entertainment professionals using AI, quote, as a tool, using it to their advantage?
Yeah, for writers, right? I think a lot of times when some of our writers and producers are getting into a writer's block, and it's hard for them to figure out what next to go when they're writing screenplays, or even when they're trying to create music, they're using AI to help add to the creative process, right? They don't want the software to own the whole process. They don't want software to create new ideas, but they want them to help them push them to and be additive to some of the things that they're doing already. So already seeing tons of new content coming out, whether it be within music. You saw, I think when Drake had I think Tupac, and it was an artificial voice of Tupac in a song, and some people didn't like it, some people didn't. But again, also in the Beatles, I saw another example there. The Beatles are using AI to help with some of their stuff, like with adding the old voices of their old colleagues.
The Beatles just got a song nominated, I believe, for a Grammy for Record of the Year, and they used AI to take some old recordings of John Lennon
Yeah.
and kind of juice them up and modernize them a little bit,
Right.
so that they could create this new Beatles record, decades after the Beatles broke up. It's pretty
Right.
crazy,
And that's a
pretty
good thing
wild.
that AI can do is it can help make sure that our legends are continued to live on and be reintroduced to this new generation of our population that may have never heard the Beatles or understand why they're as famous as they are. But again, instead of running away from it and using it as a doomsday scenario, which we've always saw the movies like Total Recall and all these other movies that scared us, or Minority Report, when technology comes into society, we would run. But I think the truth of the matter is we got to use, all of our resources to our best advantage, and AI is going to be a resource for everyone to use.
That tends to be my perspective as well. I try to be a technology optimist as much as I can in the entertainment industry. My feeling is always that every piece of new technology that's come out in the entertainment industry, whether it is drum machines, and instead of using a drummer, or having a whole recording studio on your smartphone or on your laptop instead of needing to use a big $100,000 million recording studio. Every one of those innovations came with people saying this is going to replace art. This is going to put artists out of a job. And really, time and time again, what those technologies have done is empower artists, is democratize art. Allowing creative professionals who maybe don't have access to the $1 million recording studio being able to make studio quality recordings in their bedroom. And so my feeling is, why does AI have to be any different? Why can't that just be the next great technology that empowers indie creators? That being said, I do think that there are people that are watching and listening to some of your use cases about Timbaland or about screenwriters using AI, and are thinking that it's a slippery slope. That first it's just AI helping a screenwriter write a couple sentences. Next thing you know, AI is just writing the whole script and a screenwriter's out of work. Is that something that you're afraid of? Is that something that you've thought about in terms of how we navigate that, how we make sure that that kind of reality doesn't happen, that your clients don't just become completely replaced by technology?
I don't see that. I think at the end of the day, man, between me and you, our interaction is what's really important. The fact that you're able to, like we said, share in our love for the Dolphins, your excitement for my daughter going to her first game, you being able to have feelings and empathy, I think adds to the relationship that we're having even in this interaction. Now, if we're with AI, I know for a fact there's no feelings there. You're just giving off your algorithms to me, and it's more of a transactional. I think when it comes to society and life, we're always going to want to have real relationships with people. And AI should only be used as an additive, and will be only used as an additive. If you're a songwriter and you're trying to get the right key, yes, AI may be able to find the right note for you faster than you kind of fiddling with it. That's going to be used to your advantage. And time, at the end of the day, is worth more than any account could ever be worth to you. Having your time and using technology to help you have your time for other things that you may be more important, maybe feel more important, family, free time, or in another, project. I think AI is going to make us be more efficient with our time and actually give us more opportunities to make more money.
I love your perspective on AI and art, if for no other reason that it makes me less terrified, which is a welcome development. And I imagine that your perspective, as well as some of the other insights of a lot of your very important colleagues in sports and entertainment, will be heard loud and clear at Art Basel in Miami next month at this panel you're hosting. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, we have an amazing panel coming up. We have a nice an artist named Bisa Butler, I'm super a fan of her. I just texted her the other day, like, can't wait to meet her in person because I'm a fan. I'm not a fan of a lot of things, but of her and her art, I'm just a big fan of her. We're also going to be sitting with a former NBA All-Star, Amari Stoudemire, who's also a big collector in art. He's got like Basquiat's and all these different famous paintings. He made enough money he could buy those things. But his love for art, he's a wine connoisseur. He owns a farm somewhere in New York City. So we're going to talk about him being a Renaissance man, and then also just how are our lives going to be changed with technology, with all of this stuff, and how does artificial intelligence affect the art world? And at the end of the day, The room's going to be filled with a ton of high net worth individuals, some sets of influences, all understanding art. How do we think about collecting art, but then also how do we navigate with these new technologies that's coming our way?
Before we get to our final question, I want to steer things back to finances a bit, not necessarily in the realm of AI, but just helping creative professionals manage their money. I know you've given us a lot of insight about athletes' experience with money management, but a lot of the same pitfalls that athletes can face when it comes to managing their money are also pitfalls that creative professionals can face. Are there any just good general pieces of financial advice that you might give a young entertainer in helping them manage their money and making sure that it lasts?
Yeah, I would say the number one issue that I see with creatives are that they just don't have the bandwidth to walk and chew gum at the same time. Like they just want to be focused on creating. They just want to give the world their magic and their baby and their creations. And yes, the money that comes from it is just a byproduct of them doing good work. But the managing part of the money is where it almost taints the process for them. So they almost want to take a hands-off approach to their finances. That is where I think a lot of the mistakes happen. And that's also where we see a lot of the similarities when it comes to both athletes and entertainers, where a lot of us just want to work and grind and put our head down. And yes, the accolades come, the contracts come, but at the end of the day, it's our love for the game or our love for the art or the creating that really mean the most to us. And we tend to let the managing our finances kind of slip through the cracks, right? We think we're going to be fine. And that's where I think a lot of people get in trouble. They don't take a hands-on approach to their finances. They have power of attorneys that, put them in bad deals. They don't know exactly where their money's going. They don't know who's getting paid what and which way. They don't know how they're getting charged. And I would love for our creatives to take more of a hands-on approach. The excuse of I don't have enough time in a day to check my portfolio once a week. I mean, those days are behind us. Like with technology, with the fact that you can have your accounts right in your hand in your smartphone and check on what your financial advisors are doing in real time, that has pushed those excuses away. And I would want our clients and everybody in the industry, creatives, to take more of a hands-on approach to their finances.
Yeah, I mean, seeing it through the lens of law, and I think there's some similarities here, is I try to encourage my clients to ask questions when they don't understand something legal. I never am satisfied when a client says, I don't really understand it, but if you understand it, that's good enough for me. That's never good enough for me as the lawyer. I tell you, I'm here to help educate. Don't be afraid to ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. And I think that's probably the same advice on the financial side of things too. If you don't understand something, it's your advisor, your professional's responsibility to help you understand it, to take the complicated concepts and phrase them in a way that you as the musician can understand. And if you as the entertainer can understand, if you can't understand it, it means that there's something going wrong in your relationship with your advisor, and it's your advisor's responsibility to help you get up to speed.
Yeah, Ryan, I think you're right. I think as a lawyer, a lawyer would always tell you, like, if you don't understand what you're reading, don't sign it.
Yes.
That's the same exact thing with your finances. If you don't understand what your financial advisor wants to do with your money, you should probably take a step back and say, you know what? There's no rush. Let me understand exactly what this investment means. What do I have to lose in this investment? What do I have to gain? But I think more importantly, the probability of what I can lose in this transaction should be spelled out for you. And you should know exactly what has to align for me to actually make money and what has to align for me to lose money. And at the end of the day, majority of the time, there's probably a probability, especially if you don't understand, that it's probably higher probability that you're going to lose money than increase your finances if you don't understand what you're doing.
That's a refreshing perspective from somebody in your line of work. That's really great to hear. I encourage our viewers and listeners, if you're going to be in the South Florida area on December 3rd. And that's a pretty nice time to be in the South Florida area, both in terms of the weather and in terms of the fact that Art Basil's here. I encourage you to come to Art Basel in Miami next month. Check out what's going on with Adewale Agunleye's panel and all the great stuff. It's a great time to be in Miami. And follow our guest at Wale Agunleye on Instagram. This has been a pleasure. I'm so happy to have done this, both as a legal professional who cares about creators, as well as a Miami Dolphins fan. This has just made me happy in so many ways. Before we let you go, sir, we got one last question for you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this before we go there. Also, if you want to look at all the stuff that we created, go to www.ubs/legacy. That also is where you can see all the stuff that we've done, all of the events that we're doing at UBS. So www.legacy/legacy. My advice for all creatives are, again, continue to believe in yourselves. Keep your circle extremely tight. Doesn't matter what people think. I see a lot of negative comments when they see people grinding, doing something that's outside the box. And in this world of social media, everybody wants to be a follower. But for creatives, the reason why I love creators are they have a unique ability to think outside the box. And at the end of the day, they are the individuals that will decide where culture goes. I wish I had a creative mind. I don't have that mind. I'm envious of individuals who have a creative spirit. And I think at the end, I keep saying at the end of the day, but really at the end of the day, it's those individuals that's going to help guide the direction of our country. So keep busting your tail, keep your head down, keep grinding. And when you make a ton of money, you'll come over to UBS. We'll make sure that we'll handle it for you.
All right. I have two requests of you, sir. First, I would say, like, if possible, don't be a stranger, okay? We'd love to have you on the program real soon. We don't have enough folks in your industry coming on the show providing the financial advice, and so we'd love to have you stop by whenever you're available. And second, given the amount of good luck that seems to happen to the Miami Dolphins when you go to their games, I don't know what you're doing on Thursday for Thanksgiving, but if you could just head up to Green Bay, I've been told there's a pretty important football game Thursday night. If you just can stop by, maybe bring your daughter. We'd really love for the Dolphins to get to 6-6. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, listen, I have a good feeling about Thursday. I think we're hitting on all cylinders. Waddle has been played amazing. He's hitting his stride, so I'm happy about that. So I think I actually have a good feeling about Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to enjoy my food. I'll be home, but I'm going to sing good vibes. I'll be home. I'm saying good vibes, but I think we'll be good on Thursday.
All right. Thanks very much, sir. Appreciate you being on the show.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Adewale Agunleye for stopping by, doing that interview. If you're in the Miami area, I encourage you to check out Art Basel. See if you can get in on his discussion there, on his panel. As you can tell, he's really awesome. He knows his stuff, and he's a true friend of the creators, whether you are creating things on the field of play or in the studio. Adewale is awesome. Gideon, as we record this, it is still Friday, so you have a lot of Thanksgiving weekend left to enjoy. I hope you find things to do in this holiday, enjoy the family and everything. You've already caught sharks, so I don't know what else you could do that's equally as cool to that, but I hope you make the most of this weekend, sir, and I appreciate you hanging out with me.
I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and I kind of felt bad about catching the shark. Actually, made me kind of feel bad, but it was still cool.
Well, our thanks to the shark for the sacrifices there. Our thanks to Adewale Agunleye. Our thanks to Gideon King and producer Lauren. And our thanks to all of you for checking out Break the Business. We hope you had a great holiday, and we'll see you next week.